Hello, everybody. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you. My name is Bravura, and we are renovating the 8 land grab apartments in San Myshuno. So, like I said, we're renovating the land grab apartments. I had a major surge of inspiration for this one. I just got done rewatching How to Get Away with Murder, and that show really put it on for me. Towards the end of the series, if you don't know, um, Elise Keating, the main character played by Viola Davis, moves into an apartment that I think is absolutely stunning. I mean, it's modern yet traditional, feminine yet masculine. It's perfect for her character. And I every time I watch it, I just can't help but look at the apartment surrounding her instead of actually focusing on what's going on. Just because I already know what's going on because I've watched it so many times. But it is so beautiful. So I'll put pictures up on what I'm talking about exactly. I love this apartment. So that's my main inspiration for it, and today's topic is going to be on success. Now, it is going to be kind of a troubling topic for me. I'm gonna try to get my points out as efficiently as I can. I just feel like I'm very scrambled with this one. So my views on success have definitely changed, especially since I'm probably just even a year ago. I think I had an idea of what I thought it looked like, and now it's changed very drastically with the coming of my frontal piece of my brain. Now that's what I really like about this time in my life is that I am learning so much and I am coming to terms with so much, and in the best way possible, I think. But it's definitely shaken me up to really look inward on myself and try to find what certain things mean for me, what they meant, what they don't anymore, and really define it for myself and not just what other people want me to see it as. And success is definitely one of those big ones where people would have you believe it's one way or another way, and it's really just central to you because we have one living definition of what success actually is, and the textbook definition is the accomplishment of an aim or a goal. Now, nothing tangible, nothing to be said about money, nothing to be said about status, power, or wealth in any capacity, just the accomplishment of a goal, yeah? But what it looks like to people is entirely subjective. So, how is it so similar throughout everybody that money is a part of it? That was one of the big questions I had to ask myself. And one of the biggest quotes that I've been listening to a lot of motivational content just for my mental health to give me a sense of purpose and drive. And I found one where Steve Harvey was talking, and I didn't know he was this good at being a motivational speaker, but he said something very, very provocative to me. And it was just, it was talking about being scared to start in any direction, being scared to start with your passions or your dreams or whatever. And he just said, why not shoot for the moon? Even if you miss, you will still land amongst the stars. I really liked that. Now, for me, of course, I had to go in and think deeper about that and really ponder it. And I kind of landed on a very, it's a rabid, morbid thought. um, Probably not meant to be taken in this direction, but there is a point where if you shoot for the moon and you miss, you land amongst the stars, but you are still floating in space. Does that make sense? Like, there's a weird state of limbo there that I think we're not really talking about. And I think that's very interesting of a thought for me to have because I was just like, but you still are like, okay, you're still amongst the stars, but where next? Where then? I mean, we see a lot of successful people being miserable in their life for one reason or another because either something's missing or they have too much. And I think we've seen that through TV shows, through just celebrity culture in general. I mean, if we're taking looks at the likes of Robin Williams, things like that. I mean, he was self-made, very successful career, a beautiful family, and something still was missing to the point where um, stuff had happened. And I had a conversation with my coworker about this, and it was just like, I told him I had big dreams, and I had a lot of things that I wanted, a lot of tangible things that I wanted, that I was not afraid to admit that anymore. And he brought up the very probing point that the Robin Williams story. He was self-made. He, you know, very, very successful, and yet still his only option was to self-delete. And if we're taking conspiracy theories out of it, just taking it at face value, it was a very, very crazy thought. And I brought up the point of like Icarus. I mean, he wanted to fly close to the sun. And, I made the mistake of saying he was gifted these wings, why not fly? And he was like, well, Icarus's wings were self-made. And that just brought it back to his point where so was Robin Williams. And it was like, okay, well, can that be a factor in your own demise? The fact that you created that for yourself instead of being given it. Because the happiest people who are deemed successful are like the Nepo babies who didn't really have to do much for it. But the people who are self-made and came from nothing often go on the back end and then are like miserable for finding this for themselves. This is just what I see. It's just enough times to take note, but it's not a blanket statement over everybody. Self-made but fragile. That really was a thing. I think there's an argument about, there's external versus internal success, and I think often people let external success dictate where they want to go in life, and I think I personally don't like that. I don't like that for anybody. Internal success, I think, you gotta feel success. I don't think it's enough to see it, to wear it, to even taste it. I think you have to feel it within yourself before anything else. I mean, there's a childish view of what success looked like. If you were to ask, like, I don't know, a 7-year-old what a successful person would look like, they'd probably say somebody with the cars, a big bajillion dollars, a mansions, girlfriends, everything like that. You would ask them, and that's exactly what they would tell you. Now, I can be a testimony to this because I used to work with children, and that's exactly what they would say. If you were going to draw a very successful person, or what do you want to be successful in, they're going to say like everything, and they want it all. And I love that. I mean, why not? It's not necessarily a bad thing, but that's exactly what they would give you. But then if you start talking to people, like, let's start talking to mothers, let's start talking to husbands and fathers, and say what their idea of success is. It's just any day that, like, they get to come home to their family and be loved and surrounded by, just love all the time. And, it's more of a feeling than it is a tangible thing. They would be nothing without their families. And I think that's very noble and honorable. I really like that idea of success, that it's more so, it's not what you have, it's what you do, it's what you create, it's what you feel inside. And I think that's probably my living definition nowadays, is my personal living definition of success. I really had to break this down and find what it meant for me. And I found it through, I made a Pinterest board, and I asked myself, if money wasn't a thing, if status and power wasn't a thing, what would your idea of success look like then? That is what my coworker, Mr. T, we had like 10 years worth of conversation with each other in just 2 weeks of knowing each other. And I really love that, because he was the one who was talking to me about all of this. And he asked me, like, if money and power weren't a thing, social status wasn't a thing, then what would your idea of success be then? And when I tell you I could not sleep, I couldn't sleep for 2 days thinking about that. And he was so apologetic for it, but I'm like, no, I needed this. I definitely needed it, because it really rerouted me in a lot of my dreams. And I was looking around, and I was just like, okay, well, I was looking on Pinterest, and I was trying to find, okay, what does that look like for me? And I found some pictures that really encapsulated that. I'll put it on screen of what I think it looks like for me. Now, tangibly, it would be a family, a house, just living life happily. But if I could put it into a sentence and have you understand it, it would be anywhere, literally anywhere I am, where I'm not yearning for the future nor the past. Anywhere at all. If I am, insanely wealthy, if I am dirt poor, if I am not in anywhere wanting one or the other, then I feel like I would be exactly where I'm supposed to be. That's exactly what I want. And I really like that, because that feeling is immeasurable until you feel it. I mean, there's no counting money, there's no visual representation of what that looks like. Because I found, I've been losing weight and I have fitness goals and I've had them for years and I've lost a considerable amount already. But I found that the way that I operate is not through measuring my failures, but measuring my successes. So I stopped calorie counting. I stopped stepping on the scale. I stopped even measuring myself. I just went by visually and how I felt. And once I started feeling good and I felt like I could run more, I felt like I wanted to go to the gym, then I knew I was doing something right. But instead of, calorie counting and being like, I missed my goal, or I, ate too much, or feeling guilty, or anything like that, it did not work for me. It all had to come from a place of self-love first. So I think maybe that's what may be missing for a lot of people is that self-love factor. That's why you can't really shake the idea that you're not doing enough. And I think that's just, especially maybe for women, is like we don't really operate from that capacity of like, pass or fail. We operate from like how much you love it, how much you love doing it, how, I like the idea, I don't remember who, it was like a feminine YouTuber, like who's centered around femininity, but she was talking about, instead of doing the masculine thing of sacrificing for whatever you love, just focus on the love aspect and be devoted to it. Be devoted to whatever you want to do, and that's exactly what it was. Self-care has to come from a place of self-love. It will never come from a place of like, I hate myself, so I have to lose weight, or, I don't like this about myself, so I have to do that. It doesn't work. It's not sustainable, at least. So, I mean, I think there's a lot to be said about mental health paired with success. So if you have bad mental health and you are given, everything everybody strives for in life, then maybe you lose your sense of purpose. And that's where it really comes into play, that what I said in the beginning about shooting for the moon, landing amongst the stars, but still be floating in space and not knowing where to go, what to do, or who to be. I definitely think mental health is a big factor on if you win or lose through wealth and success. Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of I don't remember if there's exact statistics on, but there's amongst high achievers, there's a big depression rate. A lot of overthinkers and overachievers will just completely burn themselves out. But yeah, I mean, I think I've started feeling like success is a moving target. And I think it's it changes from person to person, sure. But within yourself, it is a moving target. I don't think it's ever going to be the same throughout your life. Or I believe that maybe it shouldn't be the same. Because if you have one idea of success and you achieve that, well, then what then? You're floating in space. But at least you're amongst the stars. Hello, like it all comes back. As you can see, this is very, very philosophical. We're going in here. But I mean, I think maybe success isn't something you're supposed to achieve and be one and done. I think it's supposed to be just like, if my girlie's here, I think I've came up with a definition for what a woman is. And it's just, I mean, we're ever evolving. We're ever evolving creatures. Our interests change, our favorite color can change, there's a lot of things that stay the same and consistent through us. But I think women are just, ever-changing beings. And I think that's okay. And I think your idea of success has to be the same. Or, I mean, has to be the same in terms of you do not have to have the same idea of success all throughout your life. Because once you achieve that, what then? And then you lose your sense of purpose. And I think when you see that with, once you're given everything, those rat experiments in the 50s, was it Calhoun? Scientist Calhoun or something? Did the experiments with the rats. They were given food, shelter. They didn't have to go out and get anything. They were given everything, every comfort and luxury in life. And they saw that, I mean, there was essentially turmoil within the colony, and through every experiment they did, all of the rats were gone by the end of it. And that's just what happened. And I think that's what we really see. And I see it in the game of Cyberpunk 2077. If you haven't played it, I mean, just going through and walking through the map will just depress you. And I mean, it is just like this monstrous city And I always wonder how people function in places like that. I'm very much a person who loves living in a smaller town, but being a big fish in that smaller town. Big fish, little pond type of situation. I like that. Now I moved to a place where it's a big city, so I'm a small fish. And I think, oh, sorry, I didn't like being I don't, currently, that's one of the biggest things that I'm fighting with, excuse me, is that I don't like feeling this small. And I think that's what a big city really does. And then, you know, all of our human natures are currently being taken away from us, through one way or another, inadvertently or otherwise. Whatever conspiracies you want to believe about the government doing all this, I definitely can see some of these things. But, through the likes of technology, I mean, we're seeing our memory spans getting worse, especially, like I said, I work with children. I'm seeing the cause and effect of watching short form content all the time. The attention spans are terrible. Our food is terrible. Our natural instincts, aren't being catered to. Just for the likes of the boys, for example, all throughout school careers are told not to move, are told to sit in one spot throughout the day. Boys are natural movers. Girls can do it like nearly 100% of the time. I mean, I don't like it. I think children are made to move, but boys more so need to move and need to, express themselves through physical activity. And that's just the case. And we can find our solaces nowadays. You see more men going to the gym nowadays. You see more women going to thrift stores, catering to their foraging. I definitely believe that's a foraging thing, that we love going out and treasure hunting, because that's what we were designed to do. And I think a lot of these things, are being taken away from us. So if we're taking away our biological capabilities and our biological needs / wants, where's your sense of purpose then? So maybe that's why we're seeing so many depression rates skyrocket. So there's a large topic of conversation with mental health with success. And I think maybe, they've one's got to be rounded out and made sense of before you can have the other. And I think you can change, if you have an idea of success in your mind and you understand what that means for you, you need to have a good standing with your mental health on top of that, or else maybe you won't have a sense of purpose once you achieve it. Then I think there's been a topic of conversation for myself that's been the why. There's the why of success. I mean, why have it? I mean, if you wanted to put a visual of what success looks like, just search it up in Pinterest and you'll see the common theme is money and wealth, nice clothes, nice shoes. Okay. But then you have to ask yourself, okay, do you want that for yourself? Or do you want to be seen as being successful? I think there's a lot within the flex culture, especially, of like, do you just want that so you can have it, or want to be seen having it? People with the really loud cars, the loud jewelry, that's for other people. Is that really for you? Does it really inspire joy within yourself to have all of these things? It really is. Like, how much of that wealth is being spent on other people? Because you want people to stop and turn and look at your car, right? It's so confusing. But yeah, it all really goes back to those more childish ways of viewing of what success looks like. And, success, I think there's a topic of success versus money. And I think I've been talking to a lot more parents nowadays and asking their points of views on things. And I think it's very interesting, because I think, especially as young men and young women, certain elements of our character aren't unlocked until you have a child. I think there's something you just cannot access. And that's why there's a social hierarchy to these things. Like, you as a woman, you talk to any woman who has a kid, and it's kind of like, they're on a different level than you are. They have a different understanding. They have a different state of being. Does that make sense? I think maybe you've seen it. You don't exactly feel like you're at the adult table yet at Thanksgiving dinner. Like, it's a little weird state of limbo until you have a kid. So I think there's a lot of things you can't access until then. And yeah, I think a lot of parents will tell you, like, success in their life stems around their kids and stems from their state of purpose within their family and doesn't really align with money. And I think that's very interesting that they're not always together, and that's okay. And I think a lot of people maybe need to separate that for themselves to really live a fruitful life. Because I definitely had to. I had to stop and take a look and be like, okay, well, what exactly do I want if those things didn't matter? And I think I found a more beautiful way of looking at things ever since I found my working definition now, which is just a state of being where I don't yearn for anything from the future or the past. And I just, yeah, that's my working definition. When I feel like I've achieved it, then I move on to the next. And it's an ever changing thing. And I have to remember that. So I'm not just floating amongst the stars. I mean, this is all just going back into each other. And I think, yeah, redefining it is just really important. Every so often, just taking a look at your goals and being like, okay, maybe I've ticked this off the box. All right. Do I feel aligned? Do I feel fulfilled? And I think that's all what it comes back to, is if you feel fulfilled within your own self. It's not always what you have around you. It's what you have within you. And defining your own version just really is important, because with the rise of social media, we've all come to a collective idea of what it looks like, and that's just not the case for everybody. It's not tangible for everybody. It's not attainable to everybody. So making sense of success for yourself is probably one of the most important things. And I mean, can we ask ourselves, can you truly have it all? It doesn't mean you shouldn't try. I think you should definitely try to have it all. I mean, if that's what you want, go ahead. I think it's a really awesome goal to try to just have everything you can, every good thing you can. That's not a bad thing. But I think, there are some warnings to give about, is there truly something behind that door? But I think ultimately success is a moving target that maybe we aren't meant to hit directly head on, and we have to be okay with that. And I think that's the hardest thing I have to come to terms with, is maybe, you can't just be one and done. You can't just go in, hit that target and be like, all right, well, there it is. Because then you'll take a look around and realize there's everything you've ever wanted, but not everything within you is aligned. There's a lot of things going on in this brain right now. But yeah, I think the biggest failure you could have is to stop redefining what success looks like for you. Because once you stop defining what success means for you, it'll start to redefine you. Does that make sense? Like, once you stop saying what success looks like, you'll start being what you think success looks like, and then you'll completely lose yourself. And obviously that is not the goal. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of little nuances to this conversation, but I think overall, keep defining like the world around you so that it doesn't soon define who you are. And I think we see a lot of people getting lost in, what it looks like. The old money aesthetic truly is the epitome of what I'm talking about here. I mean, just trying to look wealthy. And it's like, okay, but does that make you happy? Does that style really suit you? Do you really enjoy that? And I just see so many people relying on social media for their likes nowadays. It's so crazy. Like, needing to put a name on an aesthetic. Okay, but if you like it, you like it. I don't know. I think a lot of people are losing their sense of self, especially through the likes of social media and media consumption as a whole. And maybe that could be another topic of conversation. I won't go in too deep, but I think a lot of people are losing their sense of self through the ideas of other people and through other people's voices and actions. I mean, I'm no stranger to that. I mean, I couldn't even tell you what my favorite color was for a long time because I didn't do that introspective work to even ask myself a question like that. And I think a lot of people are just, relying on other people's opinions, or people feel the need to be told what to do, what to like. And, you see the micro trends, final boss at the thrift store, and you're just like, okay, but who are you? don't know. There, you can't have style without substance, in my opinion. So, yeah, it definitely a big topic of conversation today. Sorry for just dumping all of this on you. You know what? No, I'm not. I'm really happy to have dumped all of this on you. I definitely need to get this out. And like I said, so if you have anything to add to this conversation, definitely let me know. I'm always open to talking about things further, especially, you know, my opinions. If you feel like I'm wrong, if you feel like I've said something that don't really align with what you got going on, tell me. And I'd be happy to, you know, go back and forth on it. There's a safe space in the comment section. As long as it's just not invalid hate. If you got differing opinions, I love to hear them, love to see your point of view on them. If you are a person who feels like you've ended up on the other side of success, what does that look like for you? That'd be really cool to see and really cool to explore. So this is just my rendition of an apartment for a woman who is successful. I view a single woman living here kind of like Annalise Keating. She has cats, loves plants. I know, I just realized that I did not go over this build at all. I just had a bunch to talk about. So yeah, this is kind of just a raw, uncut. I'm trying to do this in one take. My first video wasn't one take. I had a mind map drawn up. I have a whole bunch of notes going on here about what I wanted to talk about. I feel like I've hit it all, but maybe there'll be more later. So yeah, I really enjoyed making this apartment. It was definitely a safe space for me to go in and really try and encapsulate this idea of success I had in my brain, translate it to the real world. And yeah, I just enjoyed watching one of my favorite, I mean, it's a comfort show for me, How to Get Away with Murder. It was a comfort show. I watched it, I think 3 times now. I watched it because my boyfriend hadn't watched it before, so I went in and was like, okay, making sure he understood what was going on. I've done that with him for Game of Thrones too. I enjoy doing that. I love rewatching shows I already love. So yeah, I wanted an apartment to really match the vibe that I got from Annalise's apartment, and then those big topics of conversation really hit home for me. So this was a way for me to escape reality for a little bit, and I really enjoyed making it. This one I had a lot of fun doing because at the end of it, you'll see that I actually got some B-roll. I was really proud of going this extra step of getting some B-roll of what the apartment looks like while it's being, quote, lived in. And yeah, so this one isn't going to be available for download. I will say your top CC creators are going to be Felix Andre, Pierresim, and Hey Harry, as per usual, to be honest. I think Valia too. There's a lot of custom content in here for sure. Like, that's why I just don't make them available to download. Go ahead and use this as inspiration. I'll try to go through and list what I can in the description, and maybe have a little screen at the end that shows you, like, maybe room by room. Maybe that'll be if that works out. Seeing room by room what all, you know, it's from this place. I was really so proud of this. I really wanted to play with color a lot, and I feel like I really got that. So I'm overall super happy with how this came out. Oh, it's rich, dark, moody. If I could describe it as a taste, it'd be dark chocolate. Like, I just really wanted like that richness to it, to where it's just like, ooh, almost too much. That's what you see in a lot of the colors, and a lot of the colors end up changing. That room I did, that you saw, it was blue. It was the hallway area. That one has the most dramatic shift. And then the living room has slight tweaks. I did this whole build. I mean, girl, my game was crashing. At last exceptions, left, right, and center. Had an update that broke a few of my mods, but still, we persevered. So if you see my UI, like my layout being glitched out, that's why. I just went and pushed through it because I could not be bothered to start this all over again. There was already a time where my game crashed and I lost all of the progress I had made, and I probably had been decorating for 3 hours in the living room. So that was not fun. But yeah, that's why some of the things are going to be a little different from the B-roll versus the actual building footage. So yeah, I really had a lot of fun. I redid these apartments a few times now. This is one of my favorite apartments to renovate, but this is probably the first time where I've genuinely liked it. Like, I think the other ones were kind of experimenting. I think it was hard because I love wall art. I love putting wall art everywhere. So when there's a bunch of windows, I start freaking out. And then I didn't have a lot of curtains at the time. So having a plethora of curtains now, it really helped. But I really like the darkness and the moodiness, especially of the master bedroom, because I wanted like a feminine space for the sim to come back to and just, be aligned with herself and just relax, not have a lot going on, especially since if you're a lawyer, I'm sure you have just a bunch going on. So having a space where it didn't feel super fast paced was really important to me. And then just this little balcony at the end, I was really proud of it. I'm really proud of this whole build. I had a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed watching. This is definitely a big project for me. I felt very aligned with this project as a whole. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. Don't know what it's gonna be like, but I'm excited to see you there. See you. Bye.